Welcome to Managing Student Behaviors in TIES. The Effective Feedback and Grading Committee has created this video to provide you with some strategies for reporting out on student behavior during the school year instead of simply at the end of the grading period as is expected this school year. The first strategy would be to create a category called Behavior worth 0% of the grade. Definitions can be added to each of the three behaviors, and you can report out just like you do on all assignments. Odds are you'll just assign a score of 2 and add adjusted comments as necessary throughout the year to show if students are exceeding and/or not meeting expectations. The second strategy is to use the class comments feature. For this strategy, you would choose Manage Comments under the drop-down menu for each section, and then you would make notes of how students are doing for each of the 3 behaviors in those comments. Now let's look more in depth at strategy number 1. So in your grade book, and you're going to go to Category Editor. This year, formative and summative will be pre-slugged into these categories, but you're going to add a third category called Behavior. You're going to leave it as a weight of 0 because you don't want it to affect the grade, and you also need to check the box that says Do Not Include in Final Grade Calculation. Hit Save, and now you have that category name. Now under your scores, you'll go into adding definitions underneath the category Behavior. So we're going to add a new definition, and we're going to call it Attendance. And we're going to report out that category under Behavior. Now this, of course, would be worth 3 points, and what you'd probably do is create this assignment, this definition, at the beginning of the school year. You'll make it worth 3 points, and then you'll automatically give every kid a 2 to start, because they're all meeting expectations on day 1. And I'll show that Apply All feature here. So now let's go and enter those scores. And again, you would probably make 3 of these definitions: attendance, behavior, and completion. Now underneath Apply Score, I'm going to apply a score of 2 to all because 2 meets expectations. And now every student has received a score of 2. What I would probably do is if I notice Chris Anderson not showing up to class on time, I would make a comment of that and then change his score. So anytime a student is not being proficient, this is where you'd quickly jot down and you notice that Chris has been absent a lot lately. Or maybe Andrew is often handing in assignments late. You would go into these behavior definitions and you would simply change the scores and add some comments, as you can see happening here. So that's strategy number 1 for reporting out on behavior throughout the school year, so parents, students, and other teachers and staff in the building can see how students are performing in your classroom. Now let's take a look at strategy 2. Strategy 2, you would go under Scores, and under each section you'll pull in that drop-down menu and you'll select Manage Comments. The Manage Comments feature allows you to add a comment for the entire course and also comments for individual students in this course. Under comments for the entire course, you will probably want to describe the different behavior components that are being reported out. You would also want to describe perhaps what the different scores mean in your class and/or in your building, depending on how your site is handling the behaviors for the school year. The entire comments for the course will show up for every student under that course. So this may be a nice tool as well for strategy 1 for you to do exactly what I just did here in describing what the different behavior components mean and what the scores mean and what it is exactly that you're reporting out on during the school year. Now when we get to the comments by student, this is where you report how Chris is doing. Now what you might want to start with is just simply typing a 2 for each of them. So I'll show you quickly. You're going to type 2 for attendance, behavior, and completion. And then you could quickly copy and paste this all the way through all of your students. Now that's one option. Or maybe perhaps you simply go in once during the school year when you notice Chris struggling with attendance and you type in that he has a 1 for attendance because he has been tardy often. And maybe that's all you do. You leave it blank until a student exceeds or does not meet the standard in your course. Now let's take a look at what this looks like from the reporting standpoint. So we've entered some comments for Chris as well as some class comments to describe what we're looking for with behavior. Now let's take a look at the student link for Chris. So I'm going to click on the icon next to Chris's name to show you what it looks like on the student end as well as other staff in your building that may be using this as a tool. So of course it pops up with the typical top options up here. We're going to go to Grades. We're going to go to Summary to start. course, we're under Term 1 for Honors Pre-Calc there. So here is Chris's summary for Honors Pre-Calc. So this is typically the list where you see multiple classes for Chris, as well as what his current grade is. You can see here that you can see the comments that I made individually for Chris. Now if you want to see the class comments, you actually have to click on the class to see the class comments. Now we can see the class comments in addition to the student comments here. So student comments are at the bottom. Oops, way down here it starts with completion, behavior, and then it goes up to the class comments at the top up here. So these are the two. This is where you'll see it in TIES, as well as if you're an advisor and you're trying to keep an eye on students, you'll be able to see how students are doing in terms of behavior in different classes. Now strategy 1, remember we entered a definition, so you can see that down here, and of course it'll be organized by category like it always has been, and you'll be able to see what his attendance score is. Now the only drawback here is it will show a percentage, which isn't entirely what we're looking at with as far as the rubric, but it will still allow you to see the comments that you made for a student like Chris who was tardy a lot. That's what the report looks like after you enter and manage those student behaviors in that way. Now if you have any questions, you'll want to check with your school trainers during workshop week, but hopefully this gives you 2 strategies for managing student behaviors throughout the school year. Any additional strategies that you come up with, we'd love to hear from you. Please let us know at the Effective Feedback and Gradebook Committee, or let your trainers know during workshop week, as well as other staff in your building. Thanks for watching.